1020 1080.
1920 1080 मेरा 2800 पर ठीक है, वो उतना से फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। अब आपको स्लाइड
लाइव हो गया, अभी चेक करिए। या is it live? Is it live? There's an issue with the stream, maybe. Seems like it is live though.
Yeah, you're live.
Yeah, is the video good?
Yeah, it seems so.
Okay.
For instance, it's not receiving enough.
Should I start then? Or should I wait?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll start, yeah. Okay. So hello everyone. So today we have this live event organized for showing you some interesting thing about Ask Codi. That would be actually the code spaces. The whole live event is gonna be organized in a way that I'm gonna walk you through one of the extensions of Ask Codi, and then eventually using GitHub and IntelliJ editor, I'm gonna push it to repo and then use code spaces to fetch the GitHub repository and do some certain actions there. So this will be a complete walkthrough for IntelliJ AskCodi extension and code spaces. For code spaces, it will be more like in which direction we are heading. What's the direction that we are thinking of would be for code spaces. That's what is gonna be in this event. And yeah, I think I will start with the extension already. So I have already set up the extension. So I have one project and I have installed the AskCodi extension within it. So yeah, so this is the AskCodi extension that you see here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you about the basic layout of the extension and how you can use different functionalities in this extension. So first of all, in the Ask Codi extension, this is the chat bar, and below that you will see certain controls like attaching a file or selected text, and there is model selection, and then there is new chat. So if you are already done with one chat, you can just open the new chat, and then there is a text box, so where you can put in your query. For the language aspect, so AskCodi takes the language of whatever file that is open in the editor. So here I have main.py open, so it's going to use Python. So yeah, let's start with a simple example. We'll also go into a little bit of comparative mode. So, or not comparative mode, but two ways in which you can do certain things. So one of them will be using AskCodi extension, and the other one would be using code spaces. So yeah, let's start already with one example. So since I'm developing using Python, I'm gonna just create a simple program or a simple function. I just want to demonstrate how the code generator works. So here I have selected Claude 3.5 Sonnet, so I'm gonna keep the model as is. So starting with a simple query, create, let's take an example of OCR. So OCR is optical character recognition. So if I have an image, what text is there in the image, that's what I want to get. For the demonstration purposes, I already have an image. So this I have from one of the research papers, which is apparently about writing a research paper. So I want to use this image and get the text out of this image. So I want to write a Python code for this. So create an OCR app on an image named rp.png. So notice here I'm not using any attach current file or send selected file because I have to generate code from scratch. So I will just hit send here and it will add my query here, and the request will be sent to the AskCodi servers. While the request is being awaited, what I'm gonna do is, after getting the code from AskCodi, I'm just gonna paste it. If I have certain things to install, I'm gonna install it, and then create some documentation for it. So there is an AskCodi app that can be used to create the documentation of the file. So let's start. I already have the code from AskCodi, so I will copy this code. I have the complete code. I also told it to wait a sec. Yeah, hello. I think my screen is not visible. Just let me know if it is visible now, so I can continue from. Well, actually, I'll start from the beginning. That means I need to. Okay, so let's start again. I think there was a bit of an issue with the screen, so I will start again. Sorry for the inconvenience. So, yeah, so we were trying to create a simple function, uh, and we were trying to do documentation of that function using two ways. One would be using the AskCodi extension in IntelliJ editor. Well, actually, it's PyCharm, so JetBrains editor, and the other one would be using code spaces. I will come back to the code spaces part next. Before that, we will be doing the extension part. So here I already did a little bit of code generation using AskCodi, but I'm gonna start something fresh. I'm gonna use the same query, same model, same settings, so no current file attached, no selected text. I will have the main.py open so that it knows I need to work with Python, and I will click send. So I'm expecting again a similar sort of code, so a code with functions. Usually in an enterprise level code, you already have functions, or they have a modular approach to writing code. So you usually see a lot of functions or methods. So I have the code from AskCodi, and it says me to install the PyTesseract, but I think I already have it. But just in case, I'm gonna reinstall it. Yeah, so I already have PyTesseract, and yeah, it's just asking me to ensure that the path is correct for the file is on the same level, so technically it should uh, give me the text from the file. So OCR is optical character recognition from an image. So we are doing an image which is this image where we have a abstract of a research paper, of writing a research paper, and once OCR is complete, we should be able to get text that is in the image. So I will just run the code. It's saying that I have an issue. Tesseract.exe is not installed. Okay, so it's asking me to have a PyTesseract executable somewhere, which I'm gonna comment out since I'm not working with a Windows OS. But just in case, I'm just gonna run it. Okay, so it did run without it as well. Let's see. Okay, so as you can see, it gave me the text of whatever was there in the image. This was my original image, and it gave me the text out of the image. So whatever was there in the image, it just did an OCR on it, and it gave me the image. For this, I used the PyTesseract library for Python, which was again suggested to me by Ask Codi. So now I am just gonna create documentation for this. So in extension, usually you can document your code using two ways. Well, actually, I'm gonna just remove this, and you can right click and head over to Ask Codi, and there is document code. So this is a direct way where you can just select the whole file or the portion of the file that you want to be documented, and just click on the document code app. This should work directly, and the result for the document code will be provided here in the chat panel for Ask Codi. Uh, just in case if you have any questions, we can wait a little bit of the demo and then you can ask for the questions. But you can also leave the questions in the chat. I will try to answer them whenever I get the time. So this gave me the documentation for this. This was the direct method where I just used the right click Ask Codi app. So I am gonna undo this so my documentation goes away. The next method for documentation would be So if you are not using the any of the apps that we have here in AskCodi, so you can also do this thing, send attach current file. You can do send selected text if you just want to select a function. Maybe I'll do that this time and select the function and just ask Codi to create a documentation of this code. Another way would be to attach the whole file and just ask the question again. So again the question would be creating the documentation, and it should work in a similar fashion. Yeah, so it gave me the documentation for this. So yeah, this is how you can do it. I can actually just copy this part and write my documentation wherever I want. So usually it goes for Python, it goes right below the function definition. So yeah, right before the implementation of the function. So I can copy and paste the documentation part here, and it's usually helpful if you're doing handovers and everything, then your code has to be documented and all. So that was the first part of how you can use AskCodi extension. And using AskCodi extension, we already created a main file where we created a OCR on an image. So again, I'm gonna remove the documentation, refactor the code a little, and that was just the walkthrough of the extension. You can choose different models. I use Claude 3.5 Sonnet because I usually work with that model and it gives me good performance. So I usually work with 3.5 Sonnet. You can work with any model you want. That's your preference. Now moving on to the, well, actually if you have any questions regarding this section regarding the extensions, you can ask the questions now. I will just wait a few minutes. Okay, I guess for the models, usually it shows me all the models, but there will be certain models that I haven't activated. For my account, the account I'm using right now, I only have base and Claude 3.5 Sonnet activated, I think. So if I use one of the models that I haven't activated, so let's take this for example, Claude 3 Haiku. I don't think I have activated this. And well, actually I will try the other method as well. Create a documentation. Okay, I think I have Claude 3 Haiku activated as well. I'm not sure which one is not activated. Usually if you don't have the model activated, it will show you something like this. So I don't have Mr. Large 2 activated, so it's telling me that I don't have access to Mr. Large 2, and I can activate the model from web app or choose from the ones that I have activated. So these are the ones that I have activated, and I can use one of these models. Okay, so I think there are no questions, so I can move forward. So for the next part, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the same project but in code spaces. For me to use this project in code spaces, I'm gonna use GitHub. So well, actually I'm gonna push my changes to GitHub first. Okay, So I have pushed my changes to my repository in GitHub. So I should be able to use this in code spaces now. So in code spaces, we have changed a few things. We are making a lot of changes in code spaces. We already did a live event before where we told about what's code spaces and how it's gonna be. It's already in beta, so there might be a little bit of bugs here, but just for the updates, the import from GitHub functionality, it has been simplified. So you don't need to add in the API keys or anything now. You can just authenticate using GitHub and this should work fine. So here it's already showing me the repositories that I have and which one I want to link. You can also give access to specific repositories if you have any privacy concerns, and based on that you can clone your repository in Ask Codi and use code spaces on that. So I have my repository cloned already. So this was my repository, but I have made certain changes to it. So this should have, so it probably needs a pull before I can start working on it. So going through the UI of it, it's pretty straightforward. There is a file system here. So these are the files that I have. This is the main.py. As you can see, this is empty right now, but we just used the AskCodi extension to do OCR in this file. So we are going to do a pull and then we will get the content for this file. The second option is the GitHub. So this one is pretty straightforward. It shows you the stage changes, the changes that are there in the file. So I'm gonna just dash the changes that I have here. Wait a second. I think there is a video quality issue at the moment. Okay, so I guess the video quality issue is fixed. We have the file structure here. So it gives the file structure. Then we had the git action. So it will show you the changes. If there are certain changes, then you can stage them, and then you can commit them as well. At the moment, I already did a pull in the repository. So it's telling me to sync already. So what this sync will do is it will pull the change because I have uncommitted changes. So while this happens, I will give you a walkthrough. So on this side you will have all the file system and version control using Git. On this side you have the AI apps. So the first one is generic chat or generic search. So if you want the RAG to be used, so if you have any questions based on file, like where is my file located, what does the file do, I'll walk you through that as well. Then I have three apps at the moment. First one is code documentation, the second one is code reviewer, and the third one is unit test writer. So all the apps, they are not here to change the code, they are just here to enhance the code. So for example, documentation would be more like adding certain text rather than changing the code. Same goes for reviewer, it will just review the code, and unit test is a unit test writer. So it's pretty straightforward. So okay, so I will just open one of the apps. I will just walk through some of the AI apps first. So this is the file that has pull request pot related things, but still it's again very long to just understand by going through the file. So I can just ask or chat with the file directly. What does this file do? It's pretty straightforward. It should just get the whole thing through RAG and just let me know what does this file do. In this context I already had the file selected, so it's already sending the content. It's just gonna be based on that. But if in case you don't have the file open, then what to do I will tell you next. So yeah, this is generating, and yeah, so it's telling you what this file does. Now if I don't have the file open and then I ask, so right now the selected thing is the whole project. So I can just say what does this project do, since this project doesn't have any code except for in the PR bot file. So it should just give me the answer regarding the PR bot file. So whatever is there in the PR bot file, it's just gonna tell me that. Okay. Yeah, my laptop is a little bit laggy today, but yeah. Okay, so it's, yeah, as I said, it's telling about the PR bot file. So I'll open it again just for reference. So you can also see in the retrieved file, it just retrieved this file and it's explaining what's happening within this file. So this is a very straightforward search through files, or search in files, or find something in files, or if you want the file as context and ask something, that sort of things can be done using this. uh, that's the simple chat part. I will come back to the code documentation bit. So yeah, I think I need to sync the changes first. So it's telling me that this file is okay. So what I will do is I will just stage the changes. It won't work because there is a commit missing. I think the rollback functionality is not working at the moment. That's why I'm getting this issue. But just for the reference sake, I will. Okay. So I think now there shouldn't be any issues. Again, this is a very beta right now, so there are certain bugs that we are still fixing. And my internet is a little slow. Okay. 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 Still not tasting the changes for some reason. Okay. Okay, we'll just give this one more go, and if it doesn't work, we'll just move on. Okay. Okay, so it's open again. We'll just check once if it works. Okay, so now it's showing no changes. So now I can do a git pull. So sync will basically just pull. And now if I check the files, I'll just do a little refresh. It should have the main file. I think it does already. Yeah. Okay. My laptop is working a little slow at the moment. I think it's the OBR issue. Okay, maybe again. It's not going to refresh. Yeah. Yeah, so my laptop is working a little bit slow, so that's why. Oh man. Okay, no. Okay, so now we have the files. Yeah, so now we have the files that are here after the sync. So we also have the code that we generated using the extension. So what I can do is I can just use the documentation code. So I already have my file open. So just in case if my file is not open, you can't really use these apps, any of the apps for that matter, just the normal search or chat with files app. If I want to use the documentation app, I need to have one of the files selected. So I have this main.py selected. So if I want documentation for this, I can just choose one of the models. I'm just, again gonna use Claude 3.5 Sonnet. The reason I'm using Claude 3.5 Sonnet is because it works better in most of the cases. I could have also used Base, which is available for most of the users, but okay, I will show you the difference between both of them by running it one by one. So first I'm gonna use the, I think we are back. So I used the Claude 3.5 Sonnet model to generate this documentation, and this was the documentation that it generated. I can just copy paste it if I want. That's pretty straightforward. Uh, the other thing that I was saying was that we could use a different model. I use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, but just in case if you want to use Base, you'll notice the difference. So this was the Claude 3.5 Sonnet OCR documentation, and this is what the base model generates. So you can clearly see the differentiation between the models, which model is more powerful, which model takes the context more carefully. That's why my main go-to model is Claude 3.5 Sonnet rather than Base, because it works in most of the cases. It might be something else for someone else depending on the language they are working with or the type of project they are doing. But yeah, that's how it works. I am just gonna so this was the documentation bit. So this is how you can use the documentation, and if you have added the documentation, so if I see here, so I can copy the documentation part. Yeah, so this is my documentation for this, and I use code spaces to generate it this time, and I can save the file again. uh, at the moment there is no feedback whether what's happening in the background, which we are gonna add. So if the file is saving, we are gonna add some of the feedbacks here and there in the platform which are missing. So yeah, that's one thing that we are still, it's still in our roadmap to add. But yeah, as you can see, the file is saved, the save button is gone. And if I check at the changes section, so it should show me this file, so main.py, as one of the changes. I can stage these changes or unstage these changes, or I can see the difference between both the files by just clicking on it. Again, the feedback is still missing, so yeah, there are certain things that are not there. But as you can see the difference between the two files, I added the documentation part, so it's letting me know that there is some documentation that has been added. So you can stage the changes, add a commit message, documentation added, or if you refactor the code, that's also you can do, and commit. And once committed, you can sync the changes, so basically push the changes to the remote repository. Yeah, so once the changes are pushed, this is again gonna be back to whatever we saw in the beginning. Now working through the other apps, we already did the chat with your files, we did the documentation. Now going for the code reviewer. So I'm expecting a code review from this. Let's see. I used the base model, I didn't change my default model, so again it might not be as effective. So yeah, so it's giving me the code review, and it's letting me know what are the strengths and what are the areas of improvement, which can be used when, I mean, usually in companies there is a review process, so it can be used for that. So this, the direction we are going in is having certain automated code reviewers already in place, so there is less time doing these tasks for the developers and the review team. So that's the direction we are going in. For the test stream, we already have unit test writer, so yeah, let's submit this as well. So this is going to create unit test for the file I have open. Again, I chose the base model, so probably not something that's going to be very comprehensive, but yeah, let's see. So it did create the unit test for this, and it's gonna let me know how I can run this as well. Just in case, since I can't, if I don't want to copy the test script here, or if I want to copy it somewhere else, I can just create a new file somewhere, name it tests.py, let's say, and just create it here. Yeah, so it's created a test.py file. Oops. Yeah, replace main.py, test.py. Yeah. Oops. Okay. Another thing, if you open a file that does not have any content in it, again you can't run the any of the apps. That's why it's showing me this. But if I open the main.py, it's showing me, yeah. So it's showing me the script for the unit test. I can just copy it and close this and paste it here. So now I have test.py as well. I can just run this, actually save it, and then commit it to the remote repository using the GitHub functionality here. So all in all, the whole idea is having certain apps doing all the work that is needed on top of development tasks like code reviewing, documentation, or creating unit tests, that you can do here again and push it back to the repository. So it's telling me there is some error, but apparently it retrieved it. So yeah, so it's also showing me the difference that I added some content into it. So yeah, it works. So that's the direction we are heading in with code spaces. Of course, there is no terminal here. We already know that if there is a terminal, we can actually run the code that we generate online itself, and we are gonna head towards it. Again, this is very beta, but we are gonna bring it live by fixing all these small little bugs, and bring it live probably by next week. So yeah, if you have any questions regarding the code spaces, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure if there are any questions. Okay, again, I'm very sorry for the inconvenience. I think there was issues when my laptop wasn't working properly, so yeah. So what's the tough timeline when the new features will be pushed to prod? Okay, so as you have already seen in the event as well, there were certain things that were not working. So we are fixing them and we are doing proper testing, because having these features already live in prod version can be catastrophic, and it's actually not a very ethical process to have certain very buggy uh, feature going into live. So we are fixing them. We are testing it heavily at the moment. So yeah, so there are a few little things that I already noticed, so we are gonna fix them. So the timeline as of now is next week, early next week. We are hoping probably by Monday we can launch the current set of features without any bugs, and add any additional features on top subsequently. Okay. Okay, is there a guide on how to add GitHub repo to code spaces? At the moment, no, because we changed the way you add the GitHub repository to code spaces. Before it was API keys, which is there already. So the current version you can see it in docs. Uh, I'm just gonna let it open because yeah, my laptop sort of not working in sync with me today. So yeah, I'm just gonna open AskCodi.com so it's easier, probably, hopefully. Yeah. So you can go into docs and see the documentation for codes. Okay, so code space documentation you can't really click at the moment. Okay, so we are adding code space documentation of adding the GitHub app. It's pretty straightforward. If you look at the current setup for code spaces. You just have to install the Ask Codi GitHub app. You just have to give it access. Just You have to authenticate once, and then you'll see all the repositories. We'll create a documentation and put it up live. Uh, it's all gonna be all together with the live version of this set of code spaces with these features. Okay, any more questions? Okay, I think there are no more questions. Okay, just for reference, guys, uh, we have a weekly challenge. So we organize this weekly challenge from Wednesday, today morning, till Tuesday evening. And the challenge you can see after logging in on top of the website. You'll see what the challenge is about and what are the requirements, and you can finish the challenge